Okay, I want to share my attempt at reasoning with whoever wants to listen to this. Why the idea of like resting in silent, present beingness, knowingness, no mind, I am, whatever the hell you want to call it, is better for you in any intention or agenda you may have than the act of focusing on that agenda or the analytical process of developing like a strategy or figuring out how to achieve this agenda. And I don't know, maybe sometimes it's good to, well, I think it is in the appropriate times good to really focus in your thoughts and use that tool. So this is more of like as a default why being in the no mind of just awareness touching all of experience equally instead of overemphasizing thought is going to be better. So with that intro, the example that I want to give is, let's see, well, I'll start with what brought it to mind for me, which is the action of relaxing. Like, have you ever tried to relax something specific and found that you couldn't, or that it was not immediately available? And I'm sure there are, like, you can consciously relax your hands, right? If they're clenched up, that's easy. But what about that knot in your spine? I think that's a different story for all of us. And in my experience, from what I've noticed as I've experimented with these things and tried to observe my own body and how it responds to the way my attention and mental activity uh, flow, is that the tension in my body is the root of, it's almost like chronically active subconscious thought browser tabs left open. And because they're not, and maybe never were fully in my conscious awareness, it's hard to consciously turn them off. Maybe impossible. But the trick is it doesn't really need to be me that turns them off. It's a subconscious program. It's subconsciously active. It can be subconsciously deactivated. And that will happen automatically, right? When you walk into a dark room, your eyes automatically adjust and adapt to the present circumstances. So if I'm imagining with a convincing enough clarity, though, a bright light shining in my eyes, it is possible to slow the pupil dilation and kind of interrupt my ability to adapt to the moment. And I think that this is what those chronically active programs are doing. They are embedded enough in our neurology that they're convincing our body that the content that they suggest is actually happening around us. And so our body tries to adapt to all of these circumstantial conditions that don't exist. So, that's why we have stress and depression and everything else today that for some reason require a multi super billion-dollar industry to very ineffectively kind of address in ways that no one is really happy about. And that's why mushrooms work so well, because they just literally turn off your default mode network. And so for 6 glorious hours, you get to experience your natural state of being, plus, the psychedelic show, which it can also naturally come about. But so when I pull my awareness into the just like being awareness of or being aware of the entire experience that I'm having, just as like the experience, it's like the movie of my moment includes the sight, sounds, feelings, thoughts, tastes, and smells. And it's pretty easy to just go, yeah, what is the full experience? Bam. I'm aware of all of that at once. And thoughts are a part of that, but they're not the like center of it. They're just something else that's also happening. Like, I don't know, like my visual field feels a lot more big and relevant than any of my thoughts anyway. So I hope that's like enough of a pointing out for anyone that hasn't done this before. I feel like it's pretty simple, but um, let's see. So as I do this, as I rest in just the fact that existence is happening and that I'm aware of it, this is basically meditation. And in my opinion, meditation is basically just almost like standing on the line between the conscious and the subconscious. And I think that line is just awareness or beingness or knowingness. It's the space in your mind that your entire experience arises within, which sounds maybe kind of abstract and esoteric, but it's really literally just the fact that there is a substrate or something by which your experience can present itself to you, right? And so sort of feeling into that, and it can just feel like the sensation of me or the sensation of here I am, or I am whatever it is that I am right now. And it doesn't have to be anything in particular or not particular. It might feel like it's shifting or not, right? It's just like when you go, here I am. And with that, in the same way that as I can put my attention in the darkness of a room, my eyes will start to dilate. If I put my attention on the fact of equality of that there is the same amount of ability to exist for all of the different pieces of experience, thoughts, feelings, etc. The system of my body can dilate, expand, or contract to even out, right? Homeostasis is natural. Things are always falling towards their center. And it's only when we get the idea that we need to control that expansion or contraction that you could say we play with the orbit that the different objects of our inner solar system are already in, as if, we need to take on the responsibility of gravity and put things right. And I feel like it's clear to see that gravity will naturally bring everything into the most balanced possible orbital relationship with the light that it's following. And so it's just a matter of that piece of form relaxing into what seems like the instability of this spacious emptiness that provides an environment by which it can exist as itself. So when I meditate, my body naturally begins to relax in ways that I never could have figured out on my own, even with massage or stretching or anything. I mean, I have been to so many body workers and chiropractors and doctors and done so much physical therapy, so many different therapy modalities, and it is the cessation of letting go of that tension of intent to change what's going on that interrupts the natural flow of change. I would think of it like everything can be related to like a flower unfolding. It has its petals, which are like well enough designed to uncurl on their own simply because that's what they do. And our thoughts, when they get too involved, when we basically believe that we are our thoughts or that our thoughts are as real as our experience. So in the sense that like I can think about an orange, but it is less real than an orange in my hand, conventionally speaking. And if I am prioritizing my thought about reality as more than an ultimately arbitrary and meaningless symbol that doesn't really need to control anything that's going on, um, it's like trying to unroll the flower petal myself. And I think it's clear that no matter how perfect of a technology or an AI algorithm you create, how masterfully you produce the machine to carry out the perfect program, you will never be able to more adeptly unfold the flower petal than by simply letting it happen without interruption. It can still happen with your observation. I think that, in a way, that observation provides something nourishing to the process. I got a plant. Yeah, I think that's all I want to say.